Recording.
Good evening, everybody. Good to see your faces. Can you hear me okay? Raise your hands if you can hear me. Alrighty. Looks good. Looks good. Well, we're broadcasting from Florida, Lady Lake area, Florida, and we'll be down here. And next month, it'll be April 30th. We'll do another show in class, and it'll be April 30th. And normally later on in the summer, we'll be in Lilydale. We'll be doing the classes up there, and we'll announce it ahead. If you want to go to the website to find out more information or what's going on, that would be www.rev, R-E-V, Gregory Kehn, Kehn.com. That'd be Rev, R-E-V, Gregory Kehn, Kehn.com. And that'll get you on the website, and I have all the information on there about readings in person, on the phone, over Zoom. Anything you need to know, it'll be on there. And the scheduling ahead for the summer and taking appointments for the summer in Lilydale, all that'll be there. And we're broadcasting from Florida right now, and next month I believe we'll be up in Lilydale. So April 30th. Oh, good evening, everyone. What I was thinking about talking about tonight is a basic mediumship, and I had some people ask about psychometry. And I find that we all hold things that we touch in the stores, or we touch other people's things or articles, and we feel things from it. And it's an energy that we'd be very in tune to at times. And I feel part of us are hesitant. We're hesitant about opening up to that and allowing it. But there's a need to allow it and let it happen. You know, as a child, I was trained with that. And one of the first things we were doing when I was a little kid was they'd hand me an object. They had objects in a basket. They'd pass around the circle, and they would hand the basket around, and you'd pick an object out. And everyone in the circle would do that. So it was really interesting what vibes you would get from it, because you wouldn't know who it was. You would just pick things up and start to share what you're feeling, and going with what you're feeling works very well. I'm sure all of you have had that to some extent. But I find that we're going through a period in our lives right now, and this is for everyone, that I feel we're going through more of an awakening. Our mediumship and skills and abilities are opening up more. They're going to open up further. And it's going to be quite an interesting time coming up. A little bit of a prediction here in the future. I want to go into July, and I really feel a lot going on governmentally and banking and what you'd say, let's say the big money people and how they want to maneuver things. And I feel like in July, there's going to be a lot going on. And just be aware of the idea of having things at hand that are valuable to you, or the need to be able to do things or pay for things. Have it in hand, have it right there where you can reach it comfortably and easily, because I feel like we may go through a little bit of a crisis in a financial manner in the country, and it's going to shake people up a little bit. But it's a good energy because it's a sign of change, and it's a sign of moving forward. And I believe all of us are having more awakening. If you want to, I'm going to pose the question here. Who's having more dreams, or dreams that actually depict the future? And I feel this is also something that's picking up and happening more. If you want to raise your hands. Yes. Because those energies are occurring more often now. I've been noticing it, and I've been noticing with the people I read for. I've been having a number of people say to me, well, I dreamt about people in spirit, or I dreamt about events coming up. And it's going to be very interesting, the events in the world. Now, I know a few people that I would sit in a circle with in the past that they would dream about world events. They didn't have too much in their own private life they dreamt about, but they dreamed about world events, earthquakes and volcanoes and various things that would happen. And it's really fascinating to watch some of the stuff occur with people. And working with psychometry would be a wonderful way to tap in and understand what you're experiencing and what you're feeling and what spirit can give you. Because spirit can give you a message, whether it is an audible message in your mind or whether it's a message through psychometry. I've worked with that all my life, and it's always worked out very well. You know, there's times excuse me, there's times I walk through a flea market, and I remember one time walking up to a table, and I picked up a hatchet. And as I picked up the hatchet, it was very nicely done, very, very well made, older one. And I was standing there holding it, and this little older man that owned the hatchet, which was in spirit, he came to me and said, "It'll never come apart. It'll work fine for you. And you're someone that would really keep it." And I found it interesting. He came through to me, and his son was cleaning out his house and selling all these things. And the son had a huge price on it, way beyond what it would be valued at. And I said to him, I said, "Well, I'm not real sure about that." And he walked away for a moment. And he came back, and he gave it to me for less than what I even posed to him. And I know the father influenced him. And it's something that we need to be aware of, how much spirit is around us all the time. It was a reminder to me that even walking in a flea market, you have spirit contact and you have spirit working with you. And you can feel different energies from different people or objects. I find it fascinating to pick up objects at times that are old objects and see what you feel with them. And I feel that some of you may want to practice your mediumship and develop it in that way. And the need to go ahead and do that would be wonderful, to just take a random object and see what you feel with it. And if you have someone that has an object that you could sit and do this with, that'd be great. It'd be very helpful. I've worked with mediumship all my life, and like at Lloydale, they've been up there now, as there'll be the 48th season as a registered medium there. And working with people where you're walking up in front of a crowd and choosing people to go to and sharing the message, it's something that's a little different than psychometry. But to start with psychometry would be a wonderful way of starting out and working with it more. That'd help you immensely. And this season at Lloydale, we're going to have the monks at opening, and the monks will be there, and it's going to be wonderful to work with them. I get to read for them. I feel very blessed with being able to have some time with the monks and enjoy their presence and enjoy their energy. And I get to read for them on the first Monday night that we have Monday night circles. And it's always been a fun thing. People look at them as being, the newsworthy elite people, and they're just like us. They have parents, they have families, they have worries, they have everything everybody else does. And I just find it really interesting to work with someone. Sometimes you have to use interpreters to work with them, but it's really a lot of fun. And I really enjoy the energy. And I did it one time with the monks where I had them hand me their beads and their bracelet and use that as a psychometry level working with them. And a couple of them were just completely shocked at the idea as to what came through with the information. And that they were looking at it and thinking, well, how could that be in that vibration? How could that be in that object? And how much can this person pick up? Because we really picked up a lot of things there, and it was wonderful. So think about that as a way of opening yourself even further to what you sense and feel. And I do believe we're going to be having spiritually more of an awakening of dreams and guidances in dreams, and to be aware of that happening. Remember, spirit world and God around us is always there. If anything happens, we're stepping away from them through our own energy, and it's not a circumstance of them stepping away from us. I've had a few people say to me that it's like, well, how come I don't feel them anymore? And they were in a really heightened and upset state, and they weren't able to feel them. They weren't able to sense the guidance. And it's like, if we have our GPS on and we're following it and the signal's lost, what can spirit do? And that's what we're needing to follow through on, is being in a calmer state of mind, and being in that calmer state of mind very deliberately, and work with the deliberateness of keeping that calmness. Because as soon as we get wound up, we create an energy that disrupts the ability to feel and sense and know what they're saying to us. I was watching a TV show a night or two ago where they were talking about ghost hunting, and they were going out, and they went out to a place that it was a asylum, and that was gone. It had burnt down, but you feel all the energies from the people there, the souls there. And the guy was getting a little testy with the idea of demanding communication. And he got plenty of communication. And he had what he was thinking at moments was possibly a heart attack because he was on the floor in pain. And we have to remember that they respect us and they work with us. And we're needing to respect them and thank them for their presence, their guidance, their love, and their healing. And at times we just accept things going on around us and don't really think about it as giving thanks or recognition that they're there with us. And they're there all the time. And we're needing to know that they are. I have guides that I recognize when they're around me, and I'll feel the vibration and I feel the energy, and I can pinpoint which ones are which and that they're there. But at times I know all of us have moments where we're not always aware of who it would be. And in some levels, I was always told by Spirit that it doesn't matter who, they're from God, they're guardian angels, they're with us to help us, guide us, and uplift us, and to be very aware of it. I've been working with this all my life. And as I was talking to Leslie a couple times here and saying, she'd say, well, how do you know this or believe this or feel this or how does it work? And I'll just pose a couple questions here and answer the questions. One of them would be the fact that spirit world and our world is actually a very thin veil between, and that they're able to reach through to us without us knowing it and without really an awareness that they helped us or protected us. How many of us have had moments or circumstances that have occurred that we were in danger, and yet the circumstance worked out that we're untouched, we're fine, and you look at what could have happened and how bad it could be would just be amazing. And I've seen that in my own life. I've seen that in many people's lives. I think we all have the guardian angels at times. And my grandmother used to say to me, I used to work my guardian angels overtime. So it was always interesting to recognize that they're with us. How many of you have had an interest recently or a thought about it that whether it is sending it to family or friend, but to send energy of healing? And if you just raise your hands for a moment, if you've been thinking about that or that's entered your mind as to learning to do that. Okay. About everybody. That's good. I know as a child, my grandmother first said to me when I was just very little, I'm talking like 7, 8 years old, she explained it to me that God knows where the energy needs to go. And if you touch them on the head or the shoulders and a little toe needs healing, that's where the energy is going to go and not have to worry about it. I've watched healers in the Healing Temple of Lilydale and other churches and other areas where sometimes with the healing energy, they're swinging their arms around and jumping around from spot to spot and doing that constantly. And it's something that I really don't feel is necessary in that manner. It's not saying they shouldn't if they feel that they should follow through on what they feel. But to work with healing at a distance, as a child, I had a lot of experiences of people calling my parents' home and talking to my mother and saying, well, Greg was here last night. He was standing at the end of my bed. And I'd always put out the intent and thought of healing, that I would always ask Spirit that if they could utilize me to touch and help others, to please do so, and I give them permission. And if we, in a meditative, prayerful manner, sit down and put that intent out there, put that thought out there, it's going to work and work very well. And it doesn't matter where they are or what distance they are away. I remember during the Vietnam War, I was sending energy of healing to some of the friends that went to Vietnam. And the one gentleman wrote a letter back to his mother and sort of concealed it in the words he used. But he said, Gregory was here and he was standing beside me. He had been wounded. He actually got sent home. And he said, Gregory was standing beside me and I felt the energy and I felt the healing and I knew I'd be all right. And it's something that I don't remember it happening in my conscious mind. but I know that that occurred in a sense where he recognized it readily and related it to his family. And when he came home, he was talking to me about it. And he said, Greg, he says, I watched you work with me. And he says, then you went bed to bed and worked with the people there. And I find it fascinating how much we can do where we're not always aware of it in a conscious mind, or would say awakened to the fact that we were doing all these things during the night. And I find that it happens all the time. So let's work on the thought of setting the intent and the prayer, and put that thought of intent and prayer out there, because it's really going to bring the balance and the harmony to our soul, our purpose in being here. You know, I many times have people say to me, what's my purpose in being here? I really believe there's many purposes, and I feel progressions in life as we grow older and we progress in understanding. I feel our purpose is a time shift and change. And as that occurs, it's not just one purpose in life to follow through on. We're having all kinds of things happen where it's going to be something developing more and more for us. And if we can work with children and have the children understand and work with it further and be able to teach them, can you imagine the help you are giving them by the energy you're sharing with them? And as they then start awakening and being a little older, they're going to really understand the wonderful energy that can be shared. You know, we're so in touch with each other, but some people are unaware of the fact that we really are. And we're needing to relax with the idea of following through with that and not hesitate in it. Allow it to happen. You know, we have a healing temple at Lloydale. We do laying on of hands there. We have many healers there that 2 services a day. I don't remember now. I know the one was at 7 in the evening, and the other one was either 10 or 10:30 in the morning, 6 days, 7 days a week. And it's very enjoyable to go there. If any of you are going to be at Lloydale, take time to enjoy the healing temple. And I remember a lady, Thelma Carmen, ran the healing temple when I was a child. And she always said to me, she says, don't think about trying to heal. Don't think about it as thinking that it's like pushing the energy into someone. It's allowing it to happen. And allowing it to happen would be, we're not thinking about it as to what we can personally do. We're looking at God's energy flow and allowing it to occur. And I remember her putting her hands on me, and she was a little tiny lady, but she was amazing. Her hands were like hot irons. And it was just amazing energy that she would share. And she's passed the spirit now. I have felt her presence off and on coming back, and she'll be around me. And I have her healing stool in my reading room. And it's something that she gave it to me before she retired and left Lloydale. She gave me the healing stool. And there's times I've sat there and I've watched the energy in the healing stool, and I can see the aura of it. And I know that she was there to help and work with me, or work with the client that I had sitting there, because it's probably within a few inches of my knees, and it's within a few inches of the other person where I have the chairs placed. And I've not said this to people before, but I've watched the energy in the room, and I've watched people heal. And we'd get done with the reading, and they'd say, well, my hip doesn't hurt, or my back doesn't hurt. You know, my knee feels better now, or the swelling went down. And we need to be aware of what intent we're setting, no matter who it is and what's going on. We can set that intent of healing and allow it to occur. And it's really a wonderful experience. You know, there's a circle that I teach in Lloydale on Wednesday nights over at Fellowship of the Spirit, and we have a class there. And it's a wonderful energy where we work with mediumship, sometimes work a little more with healing too, because we've had incidents happen where people came in and they weren't feeling good, or they had illnesses, or was going in for surgeries, and we'd work on them with healing. And the whole circle would do either laying on of hands or meditativeness to work with that. And to allow ourselves to relax and work with that and have that intent. It's a wonderful experience to let the energy flow through you. I don't know how many of you felt the energy flow. If working with healing, where it would feel the energy flow, either your body would get very, very hot, or sometimes very cold, or your hands would have higher temperatures than what the rest of your body would. I've had that happen a lot in my life. And I feel that with little children, I know all of you have in touch with little children to some degree. It's like an awareness of sharing that with them and getting them to understand. I used to play with a ball of energy, make a ball of energy, and throw it at the little children, and they would feel it. They would sense it, they knew it was happening. And I'd work with them in that way, or put your energy in your hands and work with the energy and let them put their hand between your hands, and you can feel the energy flow. Normally, you receive with the left and you give with the right, and they would feel the energy flow, and their hand would want to go over and touch my hand, and they'd try to hold it in the middle very strongly, but it'll still shift and go over and touch my hand. And I've had that happen, countless times. And I just feel that's a wonderful way of giving children a way of looking at something they can, in a more direct way or a tangible way, experience. And I've had that happen with adults, and they get a little freaked out at times. It's like, well, how did that happen? I was trying so hard to keep my hand in the middle. And I just find it fascinating. I've learned to work with the energy flow where I can reverse it and let the energy go the other direction, and actually have them go to the left hand first and then shift the energy, and they would go to the right hand. And I've had some people at times, it's like they get a little shook up on the idea of that happening, but I feel it's a wonderful way of experiencing it and to share with others. And I know there's some children involved that will hear the program here, and it's something I think they'd really enjoy. Another thing I'd like to touch on: how many of us have been in life now looking at things, no matter how old we are or how young we are? How many of us has reached a point where there's more to life now, and we understand there's a great deal more to life now than what we in the past would have looked at in the conscious mind, conscious world, conscious work, conscious people, and realizing we're so much more than that? And to allow ourselves to go further with that knowing, and to carry it on as a part of us consciously, and not allow it to be something that's separate. My grandmother used to say to me, some people go to church on Sunday, and that's when they focus on God, and that's when they focus on anything related to God or a meditative manner. And I find with spiritualists, I was always taught as a child that on a daily level, we're needing to be relaxed and in tune to God guiding us. And when we wake up in the morning, let's put out that intent and thought. We're asking God to guide us. We're asking to be given messages and guidance in our world and to help us in our daily life. And it's something that I know that Spirit can bring up things in readings at times that may sound very mundane, but it's a major proof to people that Spirit's with them and around them all the time. And if we put out that intent and thought, and we're really saying we're open and we're willing and our desires there to be in tune, I see them stepping in. Remember, our free will is dominating our lives. And if our free will is dominating it, if we don't think about asking for help, they have to sit back and watch us bump our heads a bit. And we're needing to realize that. And we need to send out that intent and thought, opening a door on a daily level. And as we open a door on a daily level, it's going to open the door then to the guidance and the messages, as well as the healing energy. I find that if I don't do that, there's a very confusing energy at times can occur. And if we do that, it's bringing in the harmony, and that's what we're setting the intent for. And we can project that harmony not only in our own lives, but then around the world and whoever we're in touch with. I've walked through doorways and held the door for someone, and you have people come through and say thank you, and they smile, and it's a nice energy. And I've had people walk through, and it's like they look at you like, what do you want? And I think it's very sad that they function in that level. And this is where I want to say, let's plant the seeds of love, guidance, and healing, and just send that thought out to them. And it's something I know they'll receive, and I know it'll make changes. At the moment of it occurring, I see a lot of people a little stunned by it. They don't know what to do with it. But it's something that we're needing to relax with and go with it, and not feel like we have to debate the energy. Remember, we plant the seeds of wisdom, guidance, and love. We may not see them grow in that person right there, right then, but it's certainly going to be there and it's certainly going to grow. It's going to change. Now, I'd like to shift to questions if someone has spiritual questions that they'd like to ask, not necessarily a personal reading or a personal thing, but what would be spiritual questions that you have?
I'm going to go to Richard's.
Hi, Richard.
Hey,
Hello.
how you doing?
Good. How are you?
Question. Oh, pretty good. Starting to get more readings. It's I think to the point now where I actually feel like the vibrations. I feel like the vibrations when I'm asking questions. Seems like to me that when I'm asking questions on the other side, I can feel like like okay, yeah, this is the person that's coming through, and I'm picking up names. But
Yes.
then when I'm going to another person, I'm taking another class, and another person was like, well, don't really focus on the names, get more into the objects and so forth. And I go, well, I kind of don't work that way. I kind of go with the name, then I connect, and then I start going on with the readings and going, and then another person comes in, another one, or a dog or a cat. But one of the main things that's been going on is I've been smelling my dad smoke a
Yes.
lot and not connecting with them yet. But I don't know what message per se.
Sometimes it's harder to pick up on what would be either a very close loved one, possible friendship even, or the idea of mother, father, other relatives. Sometimes it becomes a little difficult to pick up on them, and you have to take time to practice your ability to just sitting back and letting it happen, and then it'll occur more. And when you're feeling it with some, let's say a stranger, you can pick up on it better and easier because you're not attached emotionally.
That
And
makes
when you're
sense.
attached emotionally, that's when at times we actually within ourselves have a little conflict because our emotions are there and they're involved and we're not wanting to really accept they're over there. We'd rather have them here in the tangible.
Okay. It's like the subconscious mind is taking over instead of opening up the mind of the other person where we don't have the attachment that we already know that they're
Yes,
over there, how we can connect easier.
absolutely. Absolutely. Yes, that's what's going on. And for you to relax and go the way you're going, I'll say it this way. What I feel with you at the moment is you're asking the questions. When you said go into a circle and they're saying don't worry about the names, I'll put it this way. I would not look at it as having to have names that is absolutely that's what you're going for, but I feel it's coming in clear for you and it helps you anchor in what you're feeling and sensing. That's wonderful. Go with it. And I feel the energy there that, some people water things down to a point where the evidential levels are minimal. And if you're given a name that may be more evidential than just the idea, well, I feel this.
Okay.
And it's okay to give the name. It's all right to follow through on that. And you use that as an anchor point, and then it expands further in the reading. That's just fine.
Okay.
Think of it this way. As a child, I've read for people since I was about 8 years old publicly, and I've always had that there, and I was very blessed to have the gift of the family I was in, which was fourth generation spiritualists and mediums and healers. So it's something that I was inducted into that when I got here. And it was always interesting to me, the difference when I'd go to school and I'd see other kids, and it's like, oh my God, how they think and the things they would do and how they would act. I mean, it just, when I was a little kid, it freaked me out. And it was like, I'd come home and I said to my grandmother one time, I said, why do they do that? Don't they realize not only they're harming others, but they're harming themselves? And it was like, I had that understanding. And like you're able to pick up some names and things, go the way you're feeling the flow is guiding you and helping you. And as you reach a point and progress to a point that you recognize your guides and you recognize the energy. Now, when I say recognition, I don't mean necessarily having to know their names, because I actually have guides now that I've had since childhood and I've never had a name from them. I recognize the energy and they're with me and I have complete trust of them. And I work with them wonderfully, and they work with me wonderfully. And they basically said to me, "You pray to God, and it's not a case of praying to them or just going to them all the time. It's the idea that I was always taught that you put your hand in Jesus' hand, Jesus will guide you." And I've never questioned it. I mean, I've walked into situations that I've had other people really freaked out that I'd walk into, and I come out of it just fine. But I was guided. I knew I was protected, and I felt guided to do it. So I did it.
It was like when I went to the restaurant with my mom and my aunt, and it was just like I think it was a couple of days after I did the class and learning the techniques to communicate, and then I actually read for a waitress
Yeah.
a little bit, and it was like, okay, should I say this or should I not say it? But then I was like, okay, I have to say it because they're telling me to pass the message. And it
Yes.
was like, oh, am I gonna say the right thing or?
Hmm. Well, that's something there that you're learning to trust it, and it's good for you to go ahead and express it. And you're sort of opening the door to asking the permission to share that. And if the person's open to it, that's fine.
Okay.
I walked in a restaurant this quite a few years ago. I walked in a restaurant. I was with the ministers of the Wheeling Island Spiritualist Church, and we had probably 6 or 8 people in the party, and we were going to go sit down to eat. And the waitress come over, and she was all upset. And I looked at her, and I said, "He's going to get the transmission in the vehicle before he'll come and pick you up from work. You'll be fine. The car's going to be fine. No problem." And she goes, "Oh, you talked to one of the friends?" And I just looked at her and smiled and didn't answer. And here she came back around, after we're actually having the meal. And she said to me, she goes, "How did you know what you know?" And here she had gotten a phone call from the boyfriend and said he just got the transmission in and that he would be picking her up and she wouldn't have to call for a ride. So, you have things happen that are very odd and unusual at times. And I feel you're learning to trust and allow it and not debate it. And I think that's something you'll be able to do. And the thing I find is just ask permission from the person so they're open to it and you're expressing the feeling you've had then. And it's something that'll work very well.
Okay. Yeah, it's kind of weird because I can even do instant messaging that once I
Mhm.
connect and I could just start typing and then it's just going on for like an hour and just this, that, this, and it's like
Mhm.
90% accurate. And
Good.
then sometimes when I'm doing it like here, live things with the person that I teach with, I'll get stuff coming in and doing stuff, but it's still kind of hard, of course, because it's still new
Yeah.
and putting it together is the main thing. It's the hardest thing is to put the messages together that
Yeah.
is not coming in so fast.
Well, I think it's something there you can set the tone with spirit to ask them to slow it down a little bit and to bring it to a speed that you can understand, and that'll help too.
Okay.
All righty.
All
God
right.
bless you.
Appreciate it.
You're welcome. You're
God
welcome.
bless you.
God bless. Thank you. Who else has a question? Anyone else have a
Marina.
question? Hi.
Yeah. All right.
Hi.
Oh, her
Okay.
audio's not working.
Your audio's not working, dear. Turn your audio on or up. Are you hearing me?
She's unmuted.
You're unmuted. Can you hear me?
Go on to someone else.
We'll go on to someone else. We'll come back to you. We'll come back to you. Anyone else have a question?
Antonella, let me unmute her.
Antonella.
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Hi. I can hear you.
Oh, great. You were saying earlier that our purpose changes
Yes.
based on, is it our age? Is that what it's based on, or is it just, yeah, like I'm just wondering if you can get more into that.
Well, let's say it this way. I feel there is a part of it that could be applying to age, but a part of it is our experiences, and what we're learning and experiencing also will dictate how far we're moving along in our lessons. And as we accept moving along in our lessons, we certainly grow more. And to allow ourselves to be that open and let it happen, it's going to work better yet.
Okay.
And as you allow yourself to experience feeling things, remember something. I know a lot of people judge things by saying, I like it or I don't like it, or I want it or I don't want it. And I want to say, instead of looking at things in that form, let's look at it as, what experience is this bringing me? And what am I either needing to learn or I'm learning from it of that experience and what's occurring? And to trust then what you're feeling, what you're sensing. And it's a process of learning. And it's an experience that's wonderful, not a negative. I know a lot of people look at things and they'll go, oh, I don't want anything to happen. Well, that's how we learn and grow, is that we make mistakes, we have misunderstandings, and we're needing to trust what we're feeling. And as you go further with trusting, you're going to have more come to you more easily.
Okay.
Any other question there? No question? Yes.
Who was that? Oh, hang on, let me get back to him.
Yeah.
Okay,
Hello,
Richards.
Richard.
Oh, hey, sorry. Daydreaming.
That's all right.
Question. How do you bring in the spirits more closer in communication wise? Because it seems like when I'm telling them to come closer so I can get more details, it seems like it's there, but it's still not. Or is that still just my part of getting it all down per se?
Well, part of it is getting it all down and figuring that out, but I'll say it this way. Sometimes they give information and we're consciously thinking that we'd like to hear more or need to have more, and at times there's no more. And that's where we need to let them judge where it's at and how much we're really giving, and that is a good energy there. But you're learning to allow them to work with you more and more in depth. And to put it in a position of almost a conversation in your mind where you're asking them to come closer, sometimes what they give is what they gave, and that was it.
Okay.
And there's
So
other
once
times
the
they can really
communication with, I'm sorry.
they can really go on with a lot of things at times, but there's times they only give a little bit and they're done.
Oh, okay.
And to just accept that at times, it's okay, because if you recognize you're being in tune and you're staying very focused, you're going to be fine. It's going to work well.
Oh, okay.
Good.
So just basically once they're done with the communication, then if somebody else comes in, or or I should say, if they bring someone else in, then it's like opening the door for someone else to start the communication part.
Yes. Yes,
In theory.
exactly. Yes. Yep, you got it.
Okay. All right. Appreciate it.
You're welcome. God bless. Anyone else?
Bless.
Question?
Oops. Mhm. 15.
Were you rubbing your mustache earlier, or were you putting your hand up?
JD.
JD. JB.
What unmuting? Okay.
All righty, we have you unmuted.
I was honestly just rubbing the mustache.
Okay.
All right. So we're gonna try Marina again if she's there.
Hi, Marina.
Hang on. Her audio's not up yet.
Okay, Marina.
It's not up yet.
Okay, the audio is not up yet. Anyone else like to ask a question?
Bridget. Let me unmute Bridget. Okay.
Hi, Bridget.
Hi, I have a question, and you may have said it because I couldn't get the volume at first, but when you first came on and you were talking about July, and you said we should put some things back like money or just food, cash, or food, what exactly?
Well, I think it's something if we have a little more access to cash to pay bills and take care of things and to make sure that's all available, because I think there's going to be a political shakeup, and I think there's going to be some things happen where there's going to be quite a shakeup around the banks and finances for a bit, and I feel that's going to rattle people some. And anytime they get rattled, they start shutting down and getting afraid, and it's like a snowball. It just rolls up and builds up and becomes a problem. And
Yeah.
be thoughtful about that, so you're stocked ahead and have a little cash in hand, or at least the access to it easily. I
Okay.
remember, I don't know what year it was now, but I remember when the banks were going through a shakeup, and some of the banks had closed their doors for a while, and they didn't let people pull money out, and I mean, it was a little crazy. And I feel like hopefully it's not going to be that bad, but I do feel the energy with it in July of quite a shakeup in a governmental manner. And it's really going to make people think about things, and they're going to have to regroup.
Okay.
All
Okay.
right.
Thank you.
Richard A has a question.
Richard A.
And okay.
Did you hear
Hi,
me?
Richard. Yes.
Okay, so I find at the office the energies sometimes they just like I go 90% of the time they're fine, they're nice and calm, and I'm nice and calm and and then one person comes around and then all of a sudden things just go into the crazy and everybody, this person's stressed out, gets me stressed out. Do you have just some suggestions? Just I don't want to obviously pour fuel on the flame, but it's just your typical office crap. I don't know. Do you have some suggestions?
Well, let me say it this way. When you find that one person comes around, it's usually the same person.
Yes.
And I would put it this way. When you see them, if you walk by them, you say hello, whatever greeting you may have. But I would surround them in light, and I would picture it when you're sitting down at your desk. I'd picture them surrounded in light, and nothing but good can come to them, and nothing but good can come out of them. And that way you're projecting that intent and thought that harmony prevails. Because I feel that I would never want to live in the turmoil they live in within themselves, because the turmoil they're living in within themselves can be really overwhelming. And you're picking up on it, and other people pick up on it, but I feel with them, they can't stand the idea of having too much harmony. So they got to come in and create a little chaos and stir everybody up. And they do it in a very consciously deliberate manner. I mean, this isn't something I feel is done by mistake or accident.
Yes, I agree with you. That makes a lot of sense. Yes, this person is she thrives on chaos. So if things are too calm, she'll create chaos.
Well, when you surround her in light, I've watched it happen where I've done that with a few people that would create chaos on an everyday level. And they just want to implode because they don't know what to do with the ability to hold it all in. And they don't know, they can't really reach everyone and stir everyone up to the degree that they normally would. And you just surround them in that light. I had a gentleman one time get so upset he left the room, and then I found he went out and sat in his car and smoked. And it was like he just couldn't stand being there. Well, instead of him having a disharmony and he, in a sense, affects everybody, what you're doing is you're creating the harmony, and the harmony is affecting him instead of him, in a sense, poisoning everybody else. So you're creating an energy flow there that overwhelms that negativity and surrounds and shuts it down. And you can do that, and it doesn't take everybody else in the office doing the same thing. You can do it as one single person. You can do that because you're projecting the harmony and the energy flow to everyone there, that we're in harmony, we're at peace, things are working smoothly. And I've watched it happen where they walk away in frustration because they don't know what to do. And really, it's a lesson for them to awaken that they're becoming destructive in their own energy. And it isn't anybody doing anything to them. It's what they're doing to themselves, which in turn is affecting everybody else. But it's something that you can certainly change.
Okay.
And that works really well. I had a gentleman one time in a circle. We were sitting in a circle, and he wanted so badly to maneuver everything and, in a sense, sort of be the center of attention and take over. And I sent out the thought to spirit that it's like, please surround him in light and fill him with healing. And he was so frustrated that he got up and said he was going to the restroom, and he left the building. And it was something that he was so contained, and spirit took care of it, where they contained him, and he wasn't allowed to do that and be disruptive in the circle.
Okay.
So
that's helpful.
you can do it. You've had some concerns about the world and how negative the world can be at times. And you have thoughts around that at times as to what in the world is going to be happening and how drastic it'll be. And I feel by you being in tune in the way that you're in tune, it's somewhat of a protection, not only for you, but for others, because there's times you're feeling it and you're sensing it that it's like, I need to be a little more prepared. And whether that's like stocked up on a little money or cash in hand, or whether it's a circumstance of just in your home, you know, having things for, let's say, a snowstorm and you have the food ahead and things like that. I see you doing that, and that's fine. And I feel at times you're impressed to do that. And I just want to follow through on it and not feel like you have to be as worried about it, because there's times I feel you get yourself pretty upset over that.
Yes.
And I don't feel anything tragic in a sense of long lasting. I feel very short spurts of things happening where it's going to scare people a bit and make people wake up.
Okay.
We're coming to an awakening that we are going to have to awaken. And whether people like it or not, I see some people very much in fear because they've resisted awakening all their lives. And I just see things happening in the future that's going to force people to wake up and be more aware. And it's really going to scare people a bit. And some of the panic is going to be there. I remember one time being in Florida when they had a hurricane come through, and I was actually down in Fort Myers Beach. And at that time, I said to friends of mine, I said, we're fine. It's going to go up the coast. It's going to hit the panhandle, and that's where it's going to go in at. And I had a radio show that day, and I did the radio show, and the announcer asked me in Bonita Beach, he asked me, well, you know, where's the storm going? And I said, it's going to go up to the panhandle, and it's going to hit in the panhandle. And I said, it's going to shake things up there, and they're going to have some very, very big waves. I said, but we're fine here. It'll go past us and really not bother us much at all because it was out on the water. And it worked out exactly that way. And I got a phone call from him after the storm had started by us and passed us to be on his TV show, because he had a radio show and TV show. And I found out when I got to the TV show that he'd actually bumped the mayor off and put me on. And, you know, we sometimes will feel things and recognize what's coming, and we're needing to just relax and trust it. And I feel with you, you at times feel things, and I'll put it this way, you sometimes pick things up, and I don't at all say you're not picking up right, but you may be picking it up quite a while ahead of time. And you're finding yourself reacting to it and feeling like I have to respond right now and do all this, but it may not be the right timing that the event has to occur right then.
Okay.
Would that make sense?
Yes.
And I want to say, when you feel things like that, feel it, know it, understand it, even write it down. And then when you're in a calmer space, put out the thought to spirit, when is the timing on this? And when would this be coming about? And that way you can then have spirit come in a calmer manner and share with you, because you're in a calmer state of mind.
Okay.
Okay.
Yes, thank you.
You're welcome. God bless. Any other question?
Marina, we're going to go to her on the phone.
Oh, we got the phone working?
Hello, Reverend. Oh my God, my computer. Can you hear me, Reverend?
Yes, I can hear you.
Maybe I should put the speaker. Be quiet, Amaya. All right. Yeah. Hi, Reverend. I was wondering, Reverend. I have a question about. I'm not sure how to phrase it. Okay. I was raised basically Catholic, right?
Yeah.
Then, but then I pretty much consider myself Christian because I'm not really big on praying to saints, and I've joined another church that's it's Christian, and anyway, but I also like have well, I wouldn't say just dabbled. I've also felt like drawn to like Hinduism, so, and even like some Buddhism. I'm very like worldly, and so like there's times that I chant like to the Hindu gods. And then sometimes I've started to ask myself lately, is that bad? I mean, because some people say, oh, that's bad. Maybe you're praying to demons, whatever. And, I wonder, because I love Christ. I love Mother Mary too. So I'm basically Christian, but I also feel an affinity. And I've kind of felt like they were real too, like Ganesha and, Saraswati, some of the. So I don't know, like I'm a little confused about that. What can you tell me about
that? Let me put it simply, dear. Go ahead and believe in all these other things around you. And if you want to do the healing energy by chanting, that's fine. I think it's a wonderful energy to share. And I feel that that's something that I wouldn't look at in any negative way at all. I mean, I work with the monks and I enjoy the monks, and we've done chants together, and it's just a wonderful energy. And I find it fascinating how many people try to divide everything up and say this is the only way or the right way and everyone else is wrong. I believe God's energy flows through all of us, all the races, all the leaders, all the spiritual people. It doesn't matter what religious understanding or basis it is. I believe God's energy is there. It's just displayed or reflected in a different manner. And it's something that we need to relax with and know that it's really okay. All right? So don't worry about that. And, my grandmother always taught me, put your hand in Jesus' hand. I have no problem.
Yeah. I mean, he's the one that I mainly pray to, but sometimes, like the other gods, I then I start to tell myself, well, they're kind of like the saints in the Catholic Church. This one's supposed to be helpful in this, and I also can't think that I know that God is so powerful, but I also feel like he's got helpers. These other beings are like helpers, but then because they're not Christian, I start to wonder, oh my God, are they evil? Is this bad? But
I think the whole spirit world has a hierarchy, and I'll call it God at the head, and then the stepping down from there in the spirit world of other entities that are working with God and works with displaying the healing and the energy and the love there. And I've seen it happen in many religious understandings. I had an experience one time with Sai Baba. I had never been there. I'd never been in the country. I'd never been to his ashram, nothing. And a lady came to me I read for, and she was going to the ashram. And I said, well, it's wonderful that you're going. He has a wonderful, wonderful healing energy. Well, when she got there, and she actually had a private interview with him, and he said, you're a spiritual person that you talk to and go to in your home, around your home. And she said, well, she gave him my name. And she said, yes, he understands and he's open. And it's wonderful that you have him available in your life. And I had a dream that night that here Sai Baba came, and I had been sick for 3 days. Sai Baba was standing at the end of my bed, and he had his hands on my feet. And I felt this levitating energy, and he was working with me. And I fully woke up and became conscious, and I was looking at him, and he had the big hair, and I just felt a wonderful healing energy. And he stood there for a moment, And when he took his hands off my feet, he just put his hands together and bowed, and he just gently disappeared. Well, when they came back for reading the next time, I said to her what had happened. And she was amazed at it and was feeling wonderful that it happened. And 3 of her friends were like, you know, we were there, we were in the ashram, and, you know, he didn't come to us or talk to us or have a private session with us. And I felt the reaction was there that wasn't the nicest. How could that possibly happen for you?
We're jealous.
And I said I was sick, and he stepped in to help me. And I just feel very open to it. It's wonderful. No worries, dear.
Okay.
God
That's
bless you.
encouraged.
Hey,
Okay, Reverend.
we're right down to the show ending here. I'm sorry we're going to have to go, but we'll love questions and think about some questions for next time. And that'll be July, April 30th. We'll have the next show and a class, and we'll do that. And I enjoyed very much meeting every one of you and enjoyed talking with you. God bless.
Thank you. Bye.
Take care now.
God bless. Bye.